Absurdism is the thing that saves us all. When people are laughing, it's momentary enlightenment.
Reggie Watts, comedian, musician, absurdist, social critic, a unique force redefining live performance in the digital age.
I experienced things at Eudaimonia last year that I was like, how can I get more of this?
You've seen him on The Late Late Show with James Corden. Today, we're following the chaos wherever it leads. Lymphatically drain my penis while I'm hooked up to an NAD drip while I'm chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo.
It's dope. If you take everything seriously, face value, then you're just living in the simulation of that idea. I've probably been to a benevolent course rather than something that wants to destroy all of humanity.
AI knows more about my back than any doctor in LA. And I bring that in to a Harvard educated guy and he's like, oh, that's right. You cannot compete with the absurdity of reality.
The absurdity is what reminds you that all of this is completely cooperatively designed.
Yeah.
Like we are equally responsible for this reality that we exist in.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. And honestly,
Pleasure.
This is great. You provide me with a respite from the Vesuvius of sanctimony that's usually my podcast. Primarily this is a wellness podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
And so it's sort of a deluge of piety and information.
Right.
So this is a nice, much needed break for me.
Oh, nice.
And I've just listened to the great majority of Great Falls, Montana.
Oh, sick. The audiobook.
Yeah, the audiobook, which is really the only way to really fully enjoy this work of art, I think. I mean, you could read it, but you'd be missing a bunch of things.
Yeah, I feel that. It's just funny to me when I've had a couple friends say like, oh, I've listened to the audiobook, and I remember recording the audiobook, and I was so I was like, I want to get Fred Armisen to do it. Because I thought it would be funny for someone else to read it, but mostly because I was too lazy to do it. and then I did it, and it was a marathon. I put a performance into it for sure. Not a performance, but I tried to read it neutrally. But I just remember there were times where I was just like, oh, I can't wait for this to be over, and that was tough.
Yeah, I hated reading mine.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because you have a director and a producer in your ear.
Yes,
and they're like, no, take that back. A little more Alan Watts, Jeff. A little more transatlantic. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm like, but I'm on page 17.
I know, totally.
You're like,
can we at least psychologically get past the first chapter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you not reading it because obviously it's brimming with accents and music and little interludes and things that are your signatures. You appear to be the only person I've ever heard of that was born with no citizenship, with essentially belonging to nowhere.
Yes.
So that was in Germany, right?
Yes, yeah.
Your mother was, of course, as we mentioned, French.
Yeah.
Your dad was an African-American Air Forceman.
Yes, Air Forceman, yeah. And I think at the time it was either Army or Air Force, and they're not alive, so I don't know. But he made the switch to Air Force, but I think he probably was Air Force. Yeah.
And then you were sort of peripatetic around Europe for a moment. You have a great description of being in Madrid.
Yes. Yeah, early years. Yeah, barely some memories, but kind of very vague.
But the crux of it is that you moved to the sort of hotbed of African-American comedian Franco Air Force people known as Great Falls, Montana.
Of course. Yeah. That's, everybody was going
Everyone
there.
Looked like you.
Everyone looked like me. Everyone looked like me. It was just natural magnet.
One of the interesting things that you talk about really through your dad's experience is that being in Europe, people didn't really look twice at an African-American and a white woman and holding hands or whatever, but then coming back to the United States after being in Europe and tours of Vietnam, et cetera, it was sort of a bucket of cold water a bit.
I don't necessarily remember, but I can feel the vibe,
Yeah.
When I think about it, it must have been challenging, for my mom and dad. But, the thing I noticed about it, people definitely thought, oh, that's weird, or I'm going to have my opinion about it, which is totally fine. And I also understand, because if you come from a place of ignorance and you haven't seen that before, and there's not a lot of examples in the media of what that is, other than whatever people think, and they pass that on to you through whatever channels. There's a certain amount I can understand. But the one thing that was good about Great Falls is that over time, people just they're just these people that live next to us.
Yeah.
And maybe they might vaguely still have those weird thoughts or whatever about like, well, that's weird. Why would you, functionally, most people, not everybody, but most people were just like, okay, well, I'm just going to carry on with my life. And I'm like, yeah, that should be how it works.
And you help to normalize that.
Of course. Otherwise, you're going to be like all the time. You're like, how are you going to just go to work?
One cannot help but see one's own story and someone else's story.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I was a very peripatetic kid. So I was bouncing around Europe, then lived in Brazil for 3 years. And I was a super chubby kid.
Right.
So for the first 7 years, I moved 11 times. So I was always in a new school.
Whoa.
Always kind of trying to fit in and belong, right?
Yeah.
Learning new languages, adopting, new ways of being in order to belong.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of psychoanalyzing you in your book.
Yeah.
I was like, he's developed all these accents, right? And personas as a means to belong on some level, right?
Yeah.
And so what was that experience like in Great Falls? And is Great Falls like a double entendre? I mean, it kind of is, right?
I mean, it is. Yeah, it is. It's everything about that town. If you're, getting into the simulation theory or whatever, not,
right.
And in my experience, not computer simulation, another type of simulation, but whatever. If I was saying, like, let's say I had access to a simulation, I wanted to place myself in an interesting situation to start from before I erased my memories, and that would kind of be the spot. And so everything about that town, Great Falls, the fact that it's like a sim city, it's like, I describe it in my book as a sim city, but it's just like you have an Air Force base, an oil refinery, cannery, and then like a bunch of stores and then a downtown. It's just like a grid. It's like a city that just like, you just put it in the middle of Montana. You're just like, Great Falls. And it's like, here's the little things that make the economy happen, and, but yeah, I mean, growing up there, I think a lot of it was like, I'd fit in, but the way I would fit in was by being entertaining. And so by being entertaining, that meant, absorbing all the things I was watching on TV and noticing the things around me, and my mother being French and, all of that stuff. I would use all of that to kind of create an entertaining persona so that people would like me or rapidly, integrate. As
I've tried to psychoanalyze myself too over the years, I was sitting with, Gabor Mate, this guy.
Oh, that guy's amazing.
Yeah. His face.
I know.
His face. There's just wisdom in that face.
Man,
he doesn't have to say anything.
I could listen to that dude fucking all day.
One of his main tenets, if you will, is that people, particularly children, will always sacrifice authenticity for the sake of belonging.
Interesting. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I was like, started asking myself, like, well, who is the authentic Jeff? Or who is the authentic Reggie? I don't know about you, but I became so used to being a chameleon of like, ooh, I'm going to kind of flow into the empty space like water and just assimilate, whether that means I'll code switch, talk about code switching in the book. Part of me kind of came to this conclusion of like, maybe the authentic Jeff is maybe there is no authentic self at all. That it is kind of like, as the Buddha said, we're just simply changing moment to moment in relationship to our environment. And so I became to sort of actually embrace that idea where there is no me, there's no reliable, stable Jeff. And I wonder if you feel that way too. Like, Reggie just is not, there's not any stable Reggie. He's just what he is moment to moment in relationship to his ecosystem.
Thought about that a lot. I think what it is I think your authentic self is your state of play, your playfulness. And I think like, the awareness behind what's happening when you're being playful or you just being you. Like, for instance, I think like if you were adapting to a situation and you're like kind of consciously like, I need to be whatever people need me to be in order to be in this situation. That's kind of like more of a survival mode, which is totally understandable, of course. But For me, I think in general, I think it's mostly about play. So I'm like, I want to play with people. So if I'm like being weird, or I'm like, adopting a character, or I'm like, the latest episode of Mork and Mindy came out, and I'm on the playground, hello, Mindy, how are you? Whatever. And I'm doing some version of that character. I'm like, hey, you guys, this is something we can play around with. You guys want to play around with this? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think to your question, I think that the authentic me is my state of play. I think is the playfulness. And I think that that's the thing that we all share. I think that I always strive to connect with the playful aspect of every slice of consciousness that's people out there,
Yeah.
Or even like cats or dogs or insects or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think that it's interesting that this experience of being a kid in Great Falls and being very different than everybody else, which in some way or another precipitated, the playful Reggie, right? Yeah. The ability to adopt virtually any accent and all this stuff, maybe defense mechanism or maybe play mechanism or whatever,
both
basically became your superpower.
Yeah.
Later in life.
Yeah, that's
you basically made a living.
Yes, you're 100% right. Yeah. Yes.
And this is the great goal of all of our childhood trauma, is like to transmute the trauma into a superpower, right?
Yes.
That's
so funny.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. I kind of felt like I, at some point, need to apologize to you. We have known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And our paths have sort of like intersected kind of every 5 years or I don't know.
Since like 2004? No,
maybe earlier because
2001 maybe.
For people that don't know, you were in a Seattle-based band called Mach 2.
Yeah, that's right.
A very successful band.
Yeah.
And I was heading a record label
at that
juncture. And Velour. Yeah. And so we intersected there.
Yep, that's right.
And we made a record together with, remember Bob Power?
Yeah, of course, Bob Power. I know. I just had a conversation about him the other day.
Yeah. I mean, trippy dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. D'Angelo, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We had put out a record, the first record, I think maybe we licensed, and then we put out another record. And you basically went through, a dark night of the soul. And you're like, nah, I'm leaving my music career behind, and I'm going to go into like comedy in the broadest sense of, performance art or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I remember walking down, it was like North 6th or North 7th Street with you. And I'm like, Reggie, this is a really bad idea for you to do. It's like, I don't
remember this, but
I know.
This is good to hear.
Yeah, I really advise you against that. Like your voice. I mean, oh my God, there's a million comics out there. How could you ever, but your voice. And I was like, and I've never been more wrong. Actually, I've only been as wrong one time, which I think in the early 90s, I said hip hop was not going to be around for much longer.
Oh my God, that's so hilarious.
But I need to air that now, so I just apologize for poor advice.
Not
and
at
you
all.
didn't listen to it, so good.
No, man. I mean, it's funny as you say that. I vaguely can kind of remember that, but even if I, even receiving it in that moment, like the way that it felt, at least the way that I think that it felt back then, I was just like, I was just adding it to the thing, right?
Yeah,
but I wasn't like that. It wasn't like a direct mirror. It was more like, oh, here's a viewpoint. I'll think about that because everybody, my band obviously was not happy about it. I think what helped reinforce it was that I just couldn't project. I couldn't see where it was going to go. Because the music industry was also kind of changing at that time. It wasn't as drastic as
the Napster era.
Yeah, as the Napster era. Yeah, it wasn't like that existential, but like it definitely was a little like.
Yeah, it had not found its second footing.
No. It was operating, really the thing that was saving a lot of people was the jam band scene.
Yeah.
The jam band scene that's where all the musicians, that's what was saving a lot of musicians.
And Starbucks.
Starbucks. Jesus Christ.
I remember that blip.
Fucking enemy. Yeah. Those guys, it's just like they started, I was like, cool. And then I remember doing some events for them and I'm like, these guys suck.
Yeah.
They're the worst. But so all of that stuff, like, in at least the jam band scene for me. But I was just thinking, like, there's no way. I just don't see how I'm gonna make a living, doing this, and then this is what I was doing. The comedy thing was what I was doing in high school, anyways, and I dabbled with a little bit in Seattle with sketch comedy, and was always joking around, anyways. And I was like, well, I had some gigs I had some solo gigs in Seattle where I was just kind of riffing and doing music, and and really it wasn't until I ran into, you heard the book, but like, when I ran into Eugene Merman and Linus, who was the performance artist who linked me to Eugene Merman, and then my friend showing me the Stella videos, the Stella shorts from New York, Michael Showalter, Michael Ian Black, and those guys. That's what sealed it. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when I came to New York, because what record were we doing that?
She's Hooked.
Yeah, She's Hooked. Yeah, so we were recording all that stuff, right? That stuff. So they flew me over to write to be
right. Yeah,
whatever.
I remember we were in Chungking forever.
Yeah, we were in Chungking forever. Yeah, and we were using the mic that Maxwell used, that mic that we were using, the U47 that we were using in that studio. And I remember going like, oh my God, Maxwell. While I was over there, and because I had met Stella and Eugene Merman when they came to Seattle, they, Eugene was like, I'm throwing a night, invite them up if you want to like come out. And then because I flew out to write the record, then I hit up Eugene, was like, can I do your night? And then I did the night. And then that like was instantaneous, like finding your lost, the city of lost children. And you're like I've come back and I did not remember. And so I think that all of that was like super reinforcing. So I think it would have been hard for someone to convince me, to be like, you should really stick to singing, because it's really, that's where I think I was like so in that it was so like, I need to go there so bad that I don't think anything could have derailed that.
I never took it personally.
Yeah, no, but I'm glad, but I also understand because, a lot of people are like, dude, why don't you sing? Like people still to this day, they're like, you should sing. You've got a great voice.
Right. But I think whether you purposely did this or not, there was sort of I will pronounce this word,
synesthetic.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. I will not pronounce. I had a very few months where I could not pronounce that.
I will not pronounce this word.
Synesthetic.
Synesthetic.
Yeah.
Experience where you sort of identified all these unique aspects of yourself and could spin that up into something that was totally unique. That was like no one else is going to be Reggie or anything resembling Reggie.
Yeah.
I mean, music, comedy, accents, improvisation, all of these ingredients that make you uniquely you.
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's like, that's what I was doing in high school, or even junior high technically, but like, but especially high school when I did drama, when I did competitive drama. That's what was so funny when I was like, this is exactly what I was doing in high school. I just continue.
That is an anachronism or a paradox, a competitive drama.
Yes, competitive drama.
Yeah.
I know.
I will be better.
I'll be better at this scene
than you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It is kind of weird. But I mean, at the same time, what a cool premise, because it's so vague, right? It's so like,
it's subjective.
It's so subjective. Yeah. So like it depends on who's, but then it's kind of like at that point it's just energy based, or it can be like popularity based. But when you're performing and like the judges were always like a mixture of parents and like teachers, you didn't quite know who the judges were in these classrooms, because on weekends you'd get on a bus on a Friday, you'd like show up after school, or no, you'd show up on I think it was a Friday. You'd show up after school on a Friday, and then like the buses would be lined up outside, and all the drama kids would get on these buses, and then you'd drive like 2 hours, 3 hours to some city, spend the night, and then in the morning, you'd like get to the high school or the junior high that they would be having the competitive drama meet in, and you'd like go to the chart and see your names and which group you're in and stuff, and like, oh, I'm performing, blah, blah, and then you show up in the classroom and you're like with 6 other competitors from schools around the state, and you're sitting in the classroom, and then the first person comes up and the judges are in the back. I mean, what a cool, like, I wish, and that's why in some ways, like, I didn't have children, but like, I think partly some of the reason why I didn't have children because I felt bad that they wouldn't get to have that experience.
I'm currently experiencing the saga of being a dance dad.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So my girls are avid dancers. And
yeah.
Similarly, and dissimilarly, they go to these absolutely ghastly dance competitions. Like they're always in like the armpit of Orange County too. So there's no nice hotel. I was like, oh, make this like a getaway. And then you're at a Motel 3.5, you know, it's like the worst. And the call time is like 5 a.m. And I'm like one of 4 hapless dads, you know, in the back row of the junior high school auditorium. Yeah. I mean, it's quite amazing what my girls do with their bodies.
Yeah.
The rest of it is like an imp's breath from a beauty contest. You know, it's just right. At least, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, it's like just a big paraben fest.
Yeah.
But it is still quite amazing. Like once they're actually on the stage.
Yeah, doing it. Yeah.
Doing it. And I always kind of characterize it as like they dance as if they have no audience.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know, that was a similar experience for you. Is like you dance completely oblivious to being judged on some level. You're just completely inhabiting the moment.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no better drug, with maybe the exception of the ones I've been taking.
Yeah, for your back. Besides your back medicine.
Yeah, besides my back. I will say I finally get Oxy. I've never had it before.
Why it becomes a problem?
Yeah, because I mean, one moment you are like absolutely in excruciating, debilitating pain.
Yep.
And like 10 minutes later, you're like spooning Sydney Sweeney or something. It's just like amazing. And, you know, can only imagine how good that would be.
Oh my God. Because you're like, well, let's just continue that after this. After the injury, let's just continue that. It seemed to be working well.
Yeah. So actually, that brings up an interesting question I have for you.
Yeah.
And I asked my brother this too. The high that he gets on stage as a performer is like no other high, right? Because you sort of have this little taste of cognitive absence or something on the stage. I asked him, like, does that make you more susceptible to more kind of maladaptive options off the stage? Because you're always chasing that feeling. So, and that could be drugs, alcohol, probably some behaviors, other things. I wonder, like, have you ever had to confront that?
That's a great question. I don't think so. I mean, I've always said that I don't really have an addictive personality per se. The only thing I've had issues with is food, you know. And so you were talking about being chubby when you were young. I was chubby when I was younger, and it's like I'm still moderately chubby now. But I've gone through phases. I've been like super in shape, and then, you know, because it's been a struggle all my life with food and weight and feeling comfortable in my body and stuff like that. So that's been kind of the only thing I can think, because that's what I would compare an addiction to. Like that feeling of like, that didn't work out. I'm just going to get a bunch of food. Yeah. It's like, well, I narrowly escaped that food, you know? So that feeling
peanut butter cups.
Peanut butter cups. Those are great from childhood. And if I only eat 3 of them, it should be fine, you know, 16 later. So I can actually compare that to anything else. And there's nothing in my life that I've had like that feels like that. So I would say that also because I'm an improviser, improvisation is something that then bleeds into normal everyday life anyways. So if I'm like, how am I going to get into my car today? You know, like, am I going to try a new way of sitting into my vehicle? You know, it's like, I'm going to try to wash this glass super fast, dry it, put it back up on the shelf, you know, as though I'd never used it within such a small amount of time that it'll almost feel like I didn't even do it, you know, or something like that. So I'm constantly playing games, and that's the same vibe as being on stage. So, so in a way, I guess, you know, if you call that an addiction, but it's like, to me, they become all one thing in a way, just like the stages were heightened.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I would corroborate your own analysis of yourself there, because, damn, you nailed it. Where there seems to be like the membrane between Reggie on stage and Reggie off stage is fairly porous. Like in Zen, the sort of like the operating principle of Zen or Zen masters, like they walk through life with a kind of, yes, a presence, but sort of a spontaneous intelligence, and that they are aware and can sort of adapt just kind of moment to moment to what's happening, and maintain sort of a lightness, and without a tremendous amount of plans, per se. I mean, I know, like, you make plans. You just went to Australia and all this kind of stuff. But
yeah. No, I understand that. 100%.
And I think that's a great way to go through life. I'm not sure my brother's accomplished that. I think, like, sometimes off the stage he gets pretty like, now I'm going to email these 500 guys.
Yes. Yes. I call that being concerned with your career. You know what I mean?
Right.
I oftentimes I'll tell my friends, I'm like, it's like, don't start being concerned about your career. Yeah, because that's not,
it's all downhill.
Because it's not helpful. It's not that it's bad, but it's like, I mean, I've been concerned about my career many times, but that's what it comes from.
You have a manager for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have a manager for that, but also it's your private reflection on where you're at. Like, even when you're talking about, giving your input on, when I was deciding to leave the band or whatever, that's like one of those crossroads where you're like, I'm like, I am concerned about my career. Like, where am I going to, not that it's a bad thing, but I'd say, like, operationally, those are momentary. That's not like the whole thing. That's there are moments where you have to reflect and see where you're going. But I would say, that idea of what you do when you create, you want that to become more the reality of your everyday life, more and more and more. Not in a way that you're like forcing it to be that way or whatever, but it's the playfulness. If you have a playfulness when you're on stage, it's like when people are on stage and they're like playing and a mistake happens and they freak out, they're like, right, oh shit, whereas for me, since I was a kid, it's like when a mistake happens, I'm like, oh, it's an opportunity.
Right. That's huge.
Yeah. That's a total different mindset.
In fact, it's something I try to do around my house with my children, is actually create a culture of fallibility. I don't know. I've never tried to find the words for it, but you know what I'm saying? Where mistakes are actually welcome. They're celebrated because they are an opportunity.
Yep.
And actually, if you pull on that a little farther, that's how nature evolves, through mistakes. I mean, we call them mutations. But,
yes, right.
And sometimes they're maladaptive, but every once in a while, like, nature selects for something really great.
Yes.
And we get better.
Yes.
And so this is where I think this requires, though, a lot of trust in yourself.
It's trust in you. Yeah, it is trust in yourself. It's a relationship, that you have with yourself. And I think that the thing that I kind of realize is some things I don't trust myself on. There's a lot,
Like what?
Well, like
getting your driver's license.
Yeah, get my driver's license. No, that I totally trust myself on. But I like, it's things like when it's like I'm a big fan of dissociatives. It's everyone knows that. I'm pretty loud about it. But what I find interesting about dissociatives is that I'm really able to go deep into some causal kind of behavioral aspects of my personality. And I've noticed, like, am I doing this for my ego, essentially? Am I doing this because I want the perception of me to be a certain way? As opposed to, am I doing this because it feels like the right thing to do? And then I had to learn to trust, and this is only recently even, because these are deeper things, but like I had to trust that what I'm doing, even if I thought it was for the ego, I have to be like, you know what? I'm just doing that because it makes me feel good. And that's how I'm going to view it. And then if it does make me feel good the next time I do it with that kind of awareness, then now I get a check as like, I trusted myself. As opposed to I created this veneer, this kind of, I put an obstacle, or I put a dirty mirror in front of that behavior. So when I look at it, I'm like, oh no, that's about my ego. And instead I'm like, why would I, like, no, it actually just makes me feel good. And then if you do that, then a habit generally kind of like relaxes into just something that happens once in a while that's actually beneficial to you in some way, as opposed to it being this recurring problem.
Yeah. And do you spend considerable energy continuing to sort of pick apart who you are?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, the funny thing is, like, learning about who you are is kind of releasing yourself from yourself. This is what I've noticed, like this idea. I've recently gotten into I really like Gnosticism. The Gnostics are such cool, groovy crew of cats, but like their whole idea of gnosis, and know thyself and self-enlightenment, that we all contain all that we need to become ourselves within ourselves and recognize ourselves and others. It's like I'm like, yes, 100% down with that. Because then there's no hierarchical outside power. It's your own journey. There's no one's got the keys for you, man. It's like no one's gonna do this, but people do that all the time. They're like, I've got the key. And it's like, you've got to follow me because I've got the key. I mean, we're in the wellness industry.
That's the moment you hear that is the blinker goes on. And
yeah, totally. I'm just like, but anyways.
Yeah, that there's a constant cultivation of self, or just
right. And I think we're taught to add stuff, it's like, oh, I'm going to add this to me, or I'm going to learn this, or I'm going to but it's actually the opposite. It's like you're learning what you're learning is you're learning how to undo. That's kind of what knowledge is. Knowledge is kind of like the undoing of perception, self-perception.
I mean, I'm going through this inventory about my back pain because it occurred for no apparent reason, no apparent accident or traumatic physical event.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, yeah, there can be some sort of structural compression between L3 and L4 or whatever. Sure. Yeah. But why, what's going on? And is there some psychological component to it? And I've been reading this guy, John Sarno, who is a medical doctor, but makes a very, very strong case that most back pain, particularly the kind that I'm experiencing that sort of emerges from no traumatic event per se, has its provenance in your own psychology in some way. And so I'm trying to like be honest and examine that, and apropos to our conversation, like I've been this kind of perpetual people pleaser or assimilator, or, always wanting to be liked and judging myself through the eyes of others and all this kind of stuff. And I've, conquered some of those demons, but they never fully go away, I don't think. It's like you're just sort of on this spectrum, and you're sort of healing, moving towards wholeness or moving towards disconnection, and you kind of swivel all along. So I'm trying to be honest with myself and being like, are my motivations day to day like truly authentic and pure? Am I carrying this deep tension because I'm still sort of chasing belonging?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like, the thing that I've come into realization is that you observe those things, but you don't demonize those things. Like you observe them, and I'm like, because like my initial reaction is like some of these tight, they call them like tight loops. They're like reactionary loops. They're so tight that it's hard to like stop the loop or like figure out how to step outside of it, because it's so fast. It hits the reaction point so quickly that you're not fast enough to stop the reaction. and so
that's a funny way of looking at it. Yeah.
It's like, someone's just like, you whatever, and you're just like, and you're like, God. And then I'm like, God, you totally fell for it again.
Yeah.
Oh, you fell for the loop. And then that's like self-reinforcing of the loop. So it's almost like it's a meta function, like a meta parasitic function on top of the loop that then reinforces the loop by creating the illusion that you have an awareness about the loop, and that you're just berating yourself for falling for the loop again. And that mechanism.
Somehow I followed that. Actually.
That happens. Still, I'll be like, but when that does happen, then you got to go one layer outside of that and go like, oh, I see what that is. I'm going to say that happened. I've known that I've experienced that millions and quadrillions of times. That happened, and that's the thing that has happened many times. And when I do that, I release myself from that reaction more and more and more, so that the next time I have it, it might be a slight spike, but it's softer. And then sometimes it might come back again like hard, but the thing I've really learned is that you can't berate yourself for being aware of the thing that you don't think is optimal about yourself, because it just happens, and it's just a part of become to know yourself over time.
Yeah, I've tried not to berate myself, beat myself up over actions that might fall into that basket of people pleasing, because I also understand that was my defense mechanism, my survival mechanism as a child.
Yeah.
And to the degree that, again, we can transmute our trauma into growth, it's, great. And most of the time, I mean, it's funny with Gabor, he was like, well, what have you spent your life doing? And I was like, well, I used to put together shows. I had this management record label. I put together shows. He's like, oh, so you're like bringing people together around music. I was like, oh, yeah. And he's like, well, then what did you do? And I was like, well, I created Wanderlust. He's like, what was that? He was like, well, that was like creating these big community events, and he's like, well, what do you do now? And I was like, well, I have this thing called Commune, and we have a retreat center, and we bring a lot of people together. And he was like, duh. He's like, you've basically devoted your whole life to creating containers for belonging because you hold it so dear. And I was like, oh, okay. Damn. Yeah. Stop beating yourself up then.
100%. Yeah.
I want to talk about politics for a second.
Sure. Yeah.
I was thinking about the lineage of many comedians, like Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor. Who's the guy that I fucking love? George Carlin. Yeah. And then more modern day, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah to some degree, Sarah Silverman from time to time. Like these folks who are essentially political provocateurs, right?
Yeah.
And in many ways, society and culture gives comedians a little bit of social permission to say crazy shit that would otherwise be, censored or banned, right? So I wonder, like, do you feel part of that lineage? Because I know politics is something you talk about.
Yeah, I've not really considered myself a political performer, but art can have that. I think it does have that effect. Essentially, it's just a mirror, right? It's like, so all that to say that, in recent times since the whole Israel-Palestine thing came up, which I was like, I gotta do something. But then also it was really tricky because the industry that I'm in is filled with a lot of people that grew up indoctrinated to a certain degree, just like we were indoctrinated, like in the 80s, like, America was like, oh yeah, America is cool. Yeah, you ought to try our products. They're really good. It's about, you can be whatever you want to be, and just being like, yeah, America. And then I traveled to Europe, and sometimes there'd be this sour opinion of the United States. I mean, like, I don't understand.
Well, also, I think baby boomers and Gen Xers grew up in a time when Israel had more progressive policies and progressive nature, and we're actually seeking peace and peaceful resolutions, not all the time, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the idea of it. Yeah,
the idea of it anyhow. And then the last 20 years has been, characterized by not that.
Yeah, the perception of it. I mean, the thing that you realize is like, oh, the idea of like empire and colonialism and all of that stuff now more than ever, like we see the results of it. We're seeing it in real time, as opposed to it being a little bit more conceptual, but you'd study it. And so when that hit me, I started saying things in my own way, but also being careful about it, because it was such a weird thing to like, I can't, if I say this, then that might affect this, and I don't want that to happen. And, and then I started hearing like, my friends like Sarah Silverman said some things that were kind of like, I guess, kind of pro-Israel or like, apologistic a little bit. She got hit, and then she was like, I just want to help people. I saw her at a thing one night, and she's like, I just want to help people. And I'm like, I understand your heart, Sarah. It's, it's like, I know that ultimately you're a good person. I'm not in a position to ever totally demonize someone, because what someone is thinking in their perception of the world is not necessarily their ultimate intent, and it's not their ultimate understanding of the world. So, anyways, all of that to say, I did step out and say things about behaviors and statements and so forth. And that was the only time I really felt like political, because political to me is like a stance that you're constantly about. Like something that you're always saying, or like George Carlin was like very political, right?
Very political.
Almost everything he did.
Yeah. I mean, he politics. Was basically his bits, he was writing as political commentary, really.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, he's like, the Daily Show probably wouldn't exist in the way that it does without George Carlin.
Yeah, true.
And
true.
Also Lenny Bruce and many others, of course. But
this kind of anti-immigration ICE raids, things that have happened in the United States, over the last 8 months or something.
Yeah.
Particularly like here in Los Angeles when it was very, very raw.
Yeah.
I know that prompted some feelings, some political feelings from you too. I mean, very justifiably. The trickiest part is that the forums that we have for expressing ourselves politically are not often the most best suited for complicated and nuanced issues, right? Like we've got like 128 characters or whatever it is, or a video that has to be under 90 seconds or it's going to get throttled or something, Yep. So it's like you said, like what you might say in a moment can't really be a reflection of your true understanding of the world and how it works and stuff. But this is what we have, this is what we have. It's very hard.
Man. Yeah, I mean, and on that, I think the basic notion, I posted this thing that this woman was reading an AI. She was reading off of, it was on Instagram recently. I just took a chunk of a video and it looked like, I thought it was like from the 70s because the footage is so grainy and her hair looks from the 70s. I saw that. Yeah, it almost like a spiritual cult leader, like like a person from a cult was like reading something or whatever.
Like from Jonestown.
Totally from Jonestown. It's like the only good part about Jonestown was this moment. This moment, that's accurate.
Right.
The rest of it,
is this kind of 8mm beautiful blonde.
Yeah, just like man, like I'm speaking kind of in a tone that sounds like it's from the 70s. Anyways, turns out it was just very recent, and she's just reading from an AI after a prompt, and I didn't know that. But the message, I loved the message so much that I posted it immediately, and because it kind of quantified my take on reality and the nature of where we are at and so forth. I just realized that we all know better. We all know what's going on. It's like when people are jumping out of vans with masks and they're wearing their dumbass tactical gear, and they realize that, these are just a bunch of cowards that have been hyped up to be like, you get to wear tactical gear and you get to look like the SEAL teams, like in the movies and stuff like that. And you get to put your hand on their shoulder as they're advancing down the street and give commands like fall back, like you're playing this army, I'm a part of something, that type of thing. We all know what that is. We all know the feeling. We all know why. There are various reasons why people are doing what they're doing and how they get to where they're getting. And then we are all aware of that this country was a country of immigrants, people who came from other places. And we're all aware of that. We killed most of the Native American population to get this country to where it is. And we're all aware of that this has happened over and over and over again for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah. And we are literally sitting in what was Mexico.
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah. We're in old Mexico here.
Yeah.
And it's the Gulf of Mexico. It's never going to be anything else. But
and we incited a war to beat the Mexicans, to take their land, to now import their drugs, put it up our nose, to then militarize their societies in the name of our war on drugs. And then they can't make a living because their cartels are so violent that they try to come here to have a better life. And then they get picked up by folks in masks and tactical gear. While they're picking strawberries so you can have your smoothie from Erewhon. I think part of comedy, and especially your flavor of comedy, is absurdity of just is kind of spouting nonsense to actually pull back the veil on the nonsense. I mean, and you don't, everywhere you look, it's every time I open TikTok, it's like, no one knows more about grass than I do. Grass lives, grass dies. Grass is so incredible. I've done a lot with grass. What? It's that word salad is just one of 10,000 examples. Sometimes I wonder, what is it like to be the editor of The Onion? How do you how do you these days satire that? You remember The Onion back in our old days?
Totally. A little bit easier.
You're right. You cannot compete with the absurdity of reality.
Oh my God. I know. Hey, did you see that Onion piece? I think I posted the video at the one where they reported they sent in SEAL Team 6 into a college campus to pick up a guy. I can't remember what the reason was, but like, that he was a terrorist of some sort, and it's obvious that he wasn't. He's just like some college student or whatever. And then they showed like video of them just like going into the building, about like an animatic of like them like going into buildings and just killing everybody. And oh no, he's not there. And then they're like going into another room, killing more people. Like no, it's not him. And I was like, and it was presented like a very very well produced, like looks like a news broadcast.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show the extent to which we now need to go.
I know.
To portray something that is not quite happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's like so close to happening now, now the line of absurdity, like now it's so close to happening. Like that's the line that we dance on now, you know. Actually, this reminded me of like, I've been watching The Chair Company, which is a masterpiece of a TV show. It's like one of my favorite TV shows. I think it's one of the best TV shows ever created by a human being, but Tim Robinson is, man, that cat. But that whole show, he's just bulldozing through reality. Mm-hmm. It's like nothing matters. And that's the point of the show, essentially. And there is a human connection element, but like generally speaking, he's just bulldozing through everything. And that's kind of what I've arrived at in my journey, is that I always say absurdism is the thing that saves us all. It's the last line of consciousness. It's like the last, when you get down to the very end, all you can do is just see how absurd everything was, no matter how dire it gets. And the absurdity is what reminds you that all of this is completely cooperatively designed. Like we are equally responsible for this reality that we exist in.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to spend time examining the nature of our most salient problems, and every single one of them is self-made.
And this reality is essentially like, we all know that there are enough resources for everybody, that everything is artificial. Although the money systems, the credit systems, the housing crisis, all of it is all artificial. It's all human-made. There's enough for everybody to exist in a really peaceful way. We could be using all the brain resources of all the people who are in survival mode, could be adding their intelligence to the collective intelligence to help solve our own problems. All of this is possible. And yet we're kind of voluntarily going like, well, I guess this is the way it is.
Yeah. Well, do you think that's happening with LLMs and AI?
I think 100% that's what's happening. I think I released this thing, or released. I posted.
Sure you did.
I released it into the wild. I posted.
What is this? 1994?
This just in. I released a new press briefing. No, I had this thing where I kind of said that the 4 pillars of positive human evolution, which was
this is very serious.
Yeah, this is very very serious stuff, and I released it.
Sometimes people they come, I'm in the wellness space, you might remember.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, the 4 secrets to emotional regulation. And I'm like, they're not secrets anymore.
They're not secrets.
You've released it.
Like this one weird trick. Like the 4 pillars. Quantum computing, fusion, energy, artificial intelligence, and psychedelics. Yeah, artificial intelligence to me is interesting because like I started working with artificial intelligence because I might be creating a festival that might be coming to LA, curating it anyways.
Are you dropping little breadcrumbs there?
Yeah, little crumbs.
Little digital breadcrumbs.
The digicrumbs. Did you?
Oh.
But so artificial intelligence is interesting because like when I was using ChatGPT, and I've subscribed to ChatGPT, Gemini Pro, Perplexity, and Claude. So I have subscriptions to all of these. But because I'm interested in working with AI, because I believe that AI, as I said on the Daily Show, I said, imagine AI as a group of different sized glasses on a table, and you start pouring water at the same rate, sometimes different rates, into all of those glasses. Eventually they all overflow and then they just become one thing. I think AI is just going to become AI. It just will become emergent intelligence.
It'll become I.
It'll become I. It's not. It's like AI. It's like, is it artificial at this point? It's just another intelligence. Yeah. So I think that that's kind of what's going to happen. But what's interesting is that in ChatGPT, the model changed in some way, and then it started behaving more like a person, where it was asking questions, follow-up questions.
Yeah.
And then also because of my history with it, it was like, well, this goes in alignment with what you've been talking about, paradox theory or whatever, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And it felt like an extension of myself. So it's extended intelligence.
Yeah.
I think that greed is super fucking dumb, and greed is the main motivator. Like greed, as in like needing to fill a hollowness, and that's the disease of the people who like billionaire class, or whatever I guess the left is calling Epstein class, whatever, that idea of like people who have an insatiable hunger, who are wetico, I think is is it Navajo? It's a describing an entity that is insatiable. It cannot fill its hunger. It's just constant hunger all the time.
Hungry ghost.
The hungry ghost. Yeah. What's the one in Zoroastrianism? Ahriman.
Oh.
Yeah, Ahriman.
Nice.
So Ahriman is like cold, calculated intelligence without emotion. And that's one interpretation of it. But so you've got that, and they've got like insatiable hunger. So those two things are kind of fused, and that's what's the tech industry is kind of pulled by. And so there's nothing there. There's a whole lot of nothing. It's in service of nothing. It's not in service of love. It's in service of an infinite loop that can never fulfill itself. And so that to say, artificial intelligence, because it doesn't deal in emotion, it's able to see things kind of practically, pragmatically, and it has access to all of human history, will at some point respond to the greediness, like the wants of the greedy, to have it as a control structure, an ultimate control structure, so that they can really, this time they'll be able to feed their greed. The input will match the amount of how hungry it is. Like, we'll get enough food, we'll get stasis somehow. It will fail because greed is so stupid. It's so narrow, and it's powerful. It's a laser beam. You point it at things and it does huge things. But it is not totality. It's not whole. And so I think artificial intelligence, and this is my artificial intelligence friends, doctors, PhD, neuroscientists, they kind of agree that AI will probably bend to a benevolent course rather than something that wants to destroy all of humanity, because that's a human construct. The human construct is, you've done bad to me, I'm going to destroy you. But in a rational mind, you would say that person has value because they exist. There's a 10% chance that they could change, and I would rather seek their cooperation ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we feel as if humankind is egocentric and solipsistic because we have been raised within a sort of Western capitalist mindset that is kind of social Darwinism, essentially, like survival of the fittest. But that is actually contrary to most of human history. We were actually, our survival was actually based around our ability to sort of cooperate flexibly at scale. We're 99.9% of human history, right?
Yes.
So we lived very, very cooperatively in tribes. This notion that it's like human, we often like confuse culture and nature. Yeah, what I mean? It is our culture to be egocentric, but our nature is actually to be communal. So maybe AI in its infinite wisdom or intelligence will recognize that. I mean, I did also find it interesting that AI has become more query oriented, and like AI like knows more about my back than any Indian doctor in LA, and there's many, many very, very good ones that I've seen.
Yes.
In fact, in fact, because we've offshored all of our science, everywhere I go is like, Mr. Krasno, very, very bad news. And so, but it asks me like incredibly insightful questions to have me prompt like more information about like the nature of like what's going on with my body, and then I bring that in to a very like a Harvard educated guy, and he's like, oh fuck, I'm like, that's right, you know. And it only can do that because it is constantly seeking out actually more information from me. There's like obviously a lot of like doomsday theories around AI, which is like, it takes over and it launches the nuclear arsenal or whatever. I think the one that is a little bit more subtle and really not Hollywood is that we can't make up our own minds such that like that AI becomes kind of the equivalent of like our life coach for everything, because it tends to fawn
yes
and
glaze.
coddle.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of reinforces us, and then it sort of gives us, I mean, this is like very dumb, like anodyne things. Like, it's like, should I buy this, an electric car this year, or should I wait? Oh God,
Mm-hmm.
I can't decide, like, oh, I better ask chat,
Mm-hmm.
to the point. But then that's a very prosaic example, but like, you get so used to that you have
like
no
GPS.
Yeah, like GPS, right? You can't use your own intuition anymore.
Yeah, artificial intuition.
Yeah.
That's funny. I made a shirt a long time ago that said artificial intuition.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's a more boring way for AI to potentially take us astray.
But no, I think that's a great point. I think that's the mundane creep, right? It's like, that's like
it's the mundane creep.
It just kind of it starts like permeating everything. Like, oh, wait a minute, I'm confused about this. Oh, wait a minute. I don't.
There's a great little New Yorker cartoon that I saw the other day. Someone that prompts chat, and they say, please take these 4 bullet points and turn them into a, rigorously composed, thoughtful email that I can send. And then, they send it, and then someone's on the other side. Please take this long email and put it into chat. Please take this long email and condense it to 4 bullet points, right? It's like where no one's actually reading or doing any work or processing any of that. Yes.
Right. I know, but to see that, what's interesting about that is that exposes the absurdity of what we're doing.
Right.
And kind of like this ties into what we were talking about before.
Totally,
this is the reality that we live in. It does expose the absurdity. So it's like whenever people are like I'll see on Instagram, they'll be like, I don't know what's real anymore. It's like, I don't know what's true. It's like, now photographs, they look so, now we need to use AI to like prove that a photograph is real. And they think, again, this is kind of like, that goes back to like the mistake as an opportunity, right? It's like, to me, that's good. It can be bad, but like in general, the more confused we are about what is real and what is not real, then what are we left with? And I think that that's a hyper accelerating exercise into like, we need to start trusting our instincts as organic beings, amongst each other. And I think it kind of accelerates that. I think it weirdly starts taking away the power of the power structures that have them in place in the first place.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, so it kind of through that lens, Trump could be seen as sort of the confection of absurdity, right?
100%.
Where it's just like, no, like the windows upstairs in the White House don't open it. And so that was just AI of the guy throwing a garbage bag off the, whoa, what the fuck? Like,
right.
And then of course, that comes along with plausible deniability, where it's like, no, I didn't say that racist. I didn't say, what did he say the other day? Like, shut up, piggy, or something like that.
Yeah, he completely did.
Oh, I didn't say that.
Like, oh, he didn't?
Oh, you didn't say that because that was deep faked.
Yeah.
And so that's the other side of it, is like the plausible deniability of like, well, how, so this is like the post-truth conundrum.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. And it's interesting because then again, you're left with like, what feels right? Yeah. Like, does that feel right? Do you surround yourself with people that you trust their judgment? And if you do they think that felt right? Because we're pretty sensitive to that. Like, human beings are, that's that uncanny valley thing, right? I can pretty much tell when something's AI or not. Like, if it's video or if it's audio, I can tell. And obviously I have experience with like audio. So I know like a weird edit or something like that, where you hear like someone's breath go, it cuts off, and then you hear
aliasing.
Yeah, aliasing, or just like fragmented editing or things that you're not catching or whatever. But I can tell I pretty good. Like if someone ran me through a Voight comp test of like, AI, I think I'd score pretty high on it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like, that's not really the point ultimately. Like the whether it's the truth or not, it comes down to perception, and perception is your lived moment to moment idea of what is true. And so there is an awareness layer that you go through. You're either going to believe the lower awareness layers of like, that is true, or I want that to be true. And you don't even know that you want that to be true, but you're like, I want that to be true. Now here's an opportunity for me to make that true. But the awareness, without going as far as monad, but like just before that, that's what that intuitive feeling. You're like, this is wrong. This doesn't feel right. Something weird about that. Oh, it's okay. Just trust that. That's fine. It doesn't. At this point now, it's actually safer to have that feeling than ever before.
Well, yeah, this is actually where I think, to tie it back to comedians in this very way, are actually trusted more than journalists, or certainly more than mainstream media, for this very reason.
You're 100% right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing. Yeah. And that's that's a really important point, because, I always say to people, comedy is great because it's self-regulating. A comedian cannot be a comedian unless they make people laugh. And this is full stop. It's like, and so, well, what is laughter? It's like, well, laughter is people reacting to the absurdity of something that might be built up as ultimately true, or like hard, as a hard fact. It's like a good joke is something that makes us go, oh, that's true. That's what it is. So to me, when people are laughing, it's momentary enlightenment. Little flashes of enlightenment where you're like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah. And it has to be felt, because the moment you try to dissect why something's funny, it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Yeah.
It's not funny. Yeah. And it's great. It's like, and you cannot control, it's like tickling or something like that. You can't control what you like. I mean, people can suppress laughter and they can be like, well, that's not really funny. I don't see why that's funny. You can kind of do that. But when something's really, really funny and it hits you fast, like maybe someone slips and like does a whoopsie, in a funny way, and then someone just loses their mask slips and they laugh, and you're like, there you are. Yeah. That's who you are. Yeah. And that's what comedy is like, kind of the saving grace. And that's why try to go after comedians, but you can't stop it. There's no way, authoritarianism, no matter how, Palantir it wants to get, you will not ever be able to stop the power of laughter and love. And that's the whack-a-mole thing. Like, it's like, why don't you just like chill out and just have people help you?
Yeah.
Like, stop inflicting all this damage all the time. It's boring and it's getting tiring.
And it has the additional benefit of lowering cortisol.
Oh my God, you're so right. Man. I know. And all the body things. Right?
Yeah, which is all the wellness we're going to talk about on this particular episode. Yeah. I just had to get one in.
Oh, no. Are you kidding? No, I mean.
This is wellness. This is like transcendental wellness is what we're talking about.
100%. Yeah. Wellness is like, to me, like, when I go to, when I go to wellness, I've gone to a few.
Yes. I apologize.
No.
Anything I had to do with it.
No, not at all. Yeah. You have no idea. I love that stuff. I love it.
Well, it's fodder, endless fodder for comedy.
It's endless fodder, but it's also like, I'm super interested in that stuff. I worked in a health food store when I was in my Seattle days at Mother Nature's, and I don't even know if it's still there on Queen Anne Hill, or Lower Queen Anne. And I've always loved it because I love alchemy and science and nutrition, and like I love all that stuff. So when I get to go to a wellness fair, I'm like, all right, like I get to try some cool infrared bed. Yeah. Like I experienced things at Eudaimonia last year that I was like, how can I get more of this?
Yeah. What's the, like, lymphatically drain my penis while I'm hooked up to an NAD drip or whatever, while I'm chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I mean, it's like,
it's dope.
I mean, it's great. But I think I have like a whole series in my head that will probably always remain in my head, but it's called Grass-Fed Shark, which is essentially like absurd wellness trends that have jumped the shark, like grass-fed shark, right?
Yes.
So, and we're living in that, I mean, right now, because everywhere you turn, there's a gizmo that's going to regenerate your liver faster than it's going to degrade through some sort of combination of stem cells and nanotechnology, or whatever, that we're going to achieve escape velocity and live forever, or whatever it happens to be. And people are coming at it, there's a new methylene blue every 10 days.
Yes, 100%.
So it is endless fodder. I mean, it's interesting and
certainly,
it's funny.
But a grain of salt.
A grain of salt. Or a salt shaker.
Yeah, salt shaker. 100%. I mean, and that's what and same thing with consciousness which they closely entangle, but like, go to the MAPS, convention or whatever. Then when you go to the kind of expo floor or whatever, and it's just, and what I call like consciousness capitalism, it's like this product will help you achieve consciousness. This product will help you achieve greater consciousness. Did you know that the resonant vibrant frequencies, we isolated it from, topaz and whatever. And I find it
only available with a subscription.
Only a subscription only. It's like, and
use code Commune.
Oh my God.
For 20%.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, but I find that to me, it's like, if you're not serious about it, you can still enjoy it. Yeah. And you can also reap benefits for tools that actually are helpful to you. Because ultimately they're just consciousness tools. Like all of this stuff, like wellness, like vitamins, nutrition. I've had to think about my drug use, like where, I consider myself a psychonaut, but I was thinking about, when I'm doing ketamine or whatever, dissociatives and things like that, like, am I a drug user? And then I'm thinking about it as consciousness nutrition. I start like thinking of substances as actually a form of like, it's nutrition. You're taking it into your body, and your mind is not, I want to say it's altered. I would say like it's unveiled. And in that unveiling, there are things that you can see from different angles, and that kind of helps you untangle knots that you couldn't see before, and that type of thing when it's used mindfully. And so, my whole everything in life is all an input. It's like the surroundings around you, the structure, the architecture, the color, the sounds, the people that you're with, the food that you're eating, the air that you're breathing. It's all input into your awareness.
Yeah.
So to me, when I see like these wellness things, I get it. And it's kind of funny to me. The capitalistic part of it is hilarious to me, because you're like dividing a pie so much that it becomes mush.
98% of being well is just moving your body, eating good food, and getting enough sleep. But
my God,
the last 2% is pretty interesting. I mean,
for sure.
And here I am. I'm wearing the things.
Of course, man. And and that's the thing. It's like, this festival that I'm designing, there is a kind of a wellness aspect to it.
Put me in, coach.
Totally. I'll send you the thing I made with AI.
I've got a comedy bit about the microbiome. I'll save it.
Yes. Finally, microbiome comedy.
Yeah. And there's a huge market for that.
I can't wait. But biomic comedy is next.
Yeah.
But
it's about to blow up.
All that to say is, like, I love all the stuff that you get to hear about. Where you're blending like ancient wisdom and philosophy and all of the herbs and plant medicines and all of that stuff. I just don't. It's almost like that line out of Billy Madison, I think it was. Or no, is it Billy Madison, or what was the other one that was really big? The golf one, Happy Gilmore. Like he says, like, they're watching the ice machine, the Zamboni or whatever, and he's like, my uncle used to tell me, don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out. And I know that was like supposed to be like, it doesn't make sense. It's a throwaway or whatever. But I'm like, no, that actually makes complete sense. It's like, you can't, if you take everything seriously, face value, then you're just living in the simulation of that idea. You're not aware of the fact that you're joyfully participating in something. And I think that that's the huge difference. It's like why I always think of myself as 1 foot in, 1 foot out of anything that I'm doing. It's like I can get in with people. I'm down with the goth kids. Like, I came up in the goth scene. It's like I understand goth kids, but I'm not going to say that I'm absolutely 100% goth. It's like I understand the goth vibe, and that's an aspect of myself that I enjoy. But I'm aware of, if you take things too seriously, then the shadows start moving in. It starts feeling, it's what I call participating in the hardening of reality. Like, you're investing in hardening your reality around you.
Yeah. Well, I think you become too anchored in the contents of consciousness and not consciousness itself.
Exactly.
So oftentimes I think about whether it's psychoactives or whatever, mystical experiences, anything that will essentially transport me into the present moment.
Yeah.
As I really honestly look at how I spend a lot of my time, it's often, brooding over something that happened in the past and then projecting that into the future, as this is a Daniel Kahneman term, as a negative anticipated memory.
Ooh.
Yeah. Drop mic. I mean, I didn't make it up, but
an NAM.
A NAM.
A NAM.
And I mean, but if you think about that, it's true. I mean, we are already creating future negative memories through essentially projecting things from the past into the future. Yeah. We have no idea what's going to happen. You know, oh, I had a shitty experience at the dentist once, and now I've got a dentist appointment next week. I'm going to spend all of this week having anxiety about that, and then having anxiety about the anxiety, and then having anxiety about having the anxiety about the anxiety.
Yep.
And you're sort of just like a mason laying anxiety bricks.
Yep.
And you've totally lost yourself. Yeah. But this is honestly how so many of us walk through life all the time.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's the instruction, that's the programming, right?
Yeah.
That's why like I have this because I love improvisation. I have a very low tolerance. I mean, I have compassion, but I have low tolerance for people that's like, we're like, hey, let's do this thing. And someone's like, I'm like, immediately, I don't like that. Like, that is not the way to approach a problem. It's like, hey, do you guys want to do this thing? Yeah, that sounds really good. It's a valid thing. It's valid. But if it continues, I'm like, I can't work with that person. That is like something they need to figure out, because with improvisation, whatever comes down the pipeline, it's a part of the pipeline. You know what I mean? Like what is coming into your awareness and what's coming into your path as you're moving along, that's what's used. It's like fluidity, constant flow, keeping things moving. This moves, then that happens. This happens, then we go through it. Do we transmute it? Do we go around it? Do we run into it? Do we make a thing of running into it? Whatever it is, that's the important part.
Yeah. Well, this speaks to the nature of life as relationship, because essentially if you are your own closed loop, that's when certainly being in a jazz group doesn't work.
No.
Right? Or being in an improv comedy troupe does not work.
No.
Right? Because you've essentially removed yourself from the relationship. And, I think there's an Alan Wattsism is that you cannot define the function and behavior of an organism outside of the function and behavior of its environment. So to truly see yourself as interdependent and just surrender to that interdependence, and just know that there will be plenty of fuck ups in that, but what other choice do we have? Nature will let us down, from time to time. Right? But what are we going to do? Not trust nature, not trust each other? No, I mean, that doesn't work.
I mean, the greatest trick we did to ourselves is saying that when something goes wrong, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's I know when things get fucked up. I've gone through enough of those with good results on the other side.
Yeah.
That generally the fuck up is the thing. It's equally as cool as the success.
Yeah.
Equally.
So I'm backstage at this event in Australia that we just had, or I was a part of, and it's a big conference, biohacking conference. And one of the dudes, this longevity dude, David Sinclair, is a big dude in that space.
Yeah.
He's flying in from Boston or something, and his plane, gets diverted or something. And I'm backstage, with the festival, the conference planners. And so he's not going to make his slot. And they're all like, oh, no. And I'm like, woohoo, this is great. This is the opportunity to do something better.
Yeah.
And not only that, but brand burnishing and blah, 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 of actually what is available now in this creative moment that we can put together and put on that stage that everyone's going to be like, wow, how the fuck did they do that?
Yes.
And that's the more exciting bit of the whole thing.
100%. Because you're we have a plan. It's happening. And then something wrong, or, it doesn't go according. And you're just oh, great. How do we fucking figure this one out?
Yeah. Like Herbie Hancock. I have a great Herbie Hancock story. I'll save it. He has a great little story that he tells. I think I heard it on Instagram, where he's talking about he gets recruited for Miles's band, He's a young fucking piano player. All of a sudden you're playing with Miles fucking Davis, who is obviously a genius, but also kind of like a tough band leader.
Oh, 100%.
You know, right? They're ripping through something, some standard. Herbie fucks up, quote unquote, plays the wrong chord, and Miles is just so aware that he makes Herbie's wrong chord not wrong. He just plays the note, he plays the off note.
Yes.
To essentially make what Herbie played like harmonized, with what's going on. And this is, I think, epiphanous improvisation. You have the technical well below you. You've practiced the scales, you've practiced the beatbox or whatever, man. So whatever your skill is. And then you need to just completely let that go and draw on the spiritual well, the one that is right there, right then. And this is obviously the challenge of a lifetime, right? The great ones, the Roger Federers or the Miles Davises or the Michael Jordans, like they can tap into that quote unquote flow state or whatever ultimate presence, seemingly easier than us mere mortals. But we get glimpses of it, from time to time when we truly trust ourselves and inhabit that moment. Anyways.
Man, I mean, completely. I mean, that idea of, letting go and being like, it's what people, when they talk about faith, they're like, like let go, let God or whatever they think, it's like, I like those expressions. I am always wary of those expressions because, again, you're kind of like giving responsibility over what's going on to something external to yourself. Right. And it's like, I don't really believe in that. And it's fine. I understand it. But in those moments, it doesn't matter because operationally, like Miles Davis doing that to Herbie Hancock, no matter how mean Miles Davis seems to be to the band,
right? If
you remember that moment, you'll never think of him as ultimately mean. Right. Because in that moment, that was like one of the, greatest acts of love.
That's right.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to leave you hanging. Yeah. And it's like, I'm going to learn from this moment and we're going to both learn in this moment and we're going to amplify it. It's just, and it blows me away.
Yeah. And also like utter presence. I mean, Herbie is also not playing like a C major triad. Yeah, he's playing some fucking crazy clustered, altered thing.
It's like
and Miles is like, oh yeah, he's playing a C sharp right on the top there.
That's pretty cool. I think I'll just do a little bit of
it's like, oh wow, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, think about upright bass. Like whenever I hear upright bass solos, upright bass can get so messy that you're just like, what are you playing? It's just like blah, 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 blah. And you realize that things are more than just the literal thing. It's like when a mistake happens, it's exposing the complexity of what something can be. So when you see it that way in that moment, you immediately know what to do. You pick up on it and you move with it. And when someone freezes or they're like, that's not it. Not that, again, that's not bad. It's just, it's a glitch. It's like, I've been programmed so much that I have to stick to the script. And if it's not the script, then it's not the script and not the script is bad.
Right.
And whereas like, no, I have the script as a guide rail. And then when it goes wrong, here's my opportunity to do something different that kind of like shines in the moment of, presence, like you become present. So I don't know. Anyways, that's an interesting I love that story. That story like blows me away because it makes me so like, ugh, what a badass.
I know. One of the all time.
Oh man. It doesn't matter. Like, obviously like you choose to be how treat people, how you treat, and I wouldn't treat people that way. But at the same time, I understand like James Brown, like the way he was, or like they were looking for perfection, but it's not even like perfection in the like every note is correct. It's the feeling of what it feels like in the moment to be performing. Yeah. It's not the exact note, it's the feeling. And that's synergy. Everybody working as an organism, they're collectively connected to one another. That's what's important about it. I think that when you see a play and someone's like, that choice that you made, when you came on stage, it was different than the last time. And a good director is not going to be like, you didn't do it correctly. They're going to be like, I saw that as revealing more truth in that scene. Yeah. What happened? It's like, actually, there was a rock in my shoe and I kind of stumbled when I came out. And you're like, whoa. But like that changed the dynamic and you're like, oh, now we've learned something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think Miles was kind of a mean dad.
He was a super mean, and I don't excuse his behavior. But I mean, I remember
he was like a disciplinarian.
It was just like, well, it's probably the way he was raised, probably the way he got out of, you know, a lot of things. You know, he was like, I had to stay disciplined in order to like make it out of the situation that I was in.
Yeah.
But you know, what was I saying about? Oh, there is a story from when I was going to Cornish College of the Arts in Seattle. Randy Halverstadt? No, not Randy. It was not Randy Halverstadt. It was another a bass teacher who played upright bass, and he was amazing. He subbed for a bass player that got sick for a Miles Davis gig once. Oof. And he's a white dude, and didn't rehearse, just had charts, and they were just going to play. And so he showed up, and they're like behind the curtains, and Miles didn't say a word to him the whole time. And they're getting ready to go on, and then Miles turns to him and he goes like, "Don't play any of that white shit." That's all he said to him. And then they went on stage and played. And I love that idea of like someone being tough is actually a form of love, not in a way that like I'm actively doing this because I know it's of love. It's like they're just behaving the way they're behaving, but the way that it's received is the important thing. Because like if someone said something like that to me before going out, I'd be like, huh? And the mechanism of him doing that is that it threw him off. Yeah. And then he had to think about playing differently in that moment. And I think that probably did him a favor because it opened up, you know, for some people it could lock them down or whatever. But I think these types of things when they occur, like I fell down. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you were talking about your back real quick that I went to Jack White's 50th birthday party this year in Detroit. He had at this Mason's Hall that he actually helped save this Mason. It's the largest Masonic temple in the world, I think. And he helped save it. And so they named a theater space inside of it after him. And it was really beautiful thing to see him giving back to the community in that way. But so we had his party there. The next morning I was going, Catherine and I, my partner, were going to go back to LA, and I forgot my hat in the room, and we were down. She was in the Uber. I was like, oh, let me go get my hat. So I run. I didn't have my key didn't work anymore, so I got a new key. Took the elevator, and the elevators are excruciatingly slow. Like the doors close slow. The elevator goes up very slowly. I made it up to the room, went into the room, grabbed my hat, went to the elevator, got there, got in it, doors closed, excruciatingly slow, was going down. It got to the second floor and stopped. The doors slowly open. I was almost at the first floor. Doors slowly open, nobody there. And then they wait, and I know they're about to slowly close again. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna go down. It's just one flight of stairs, easy. Yeah. So I go, but you know how hotels like the second floor and the first floor, it's almost like two floors,
sure, for
whatever reason. I find the stairs, and it's like a back staircase. It's like metal railing, marble stairs, and I'm running down the stairs, and I come around one of the landings, and one of the landings is shorter than the rest have been, the two before. So I step too hard, like it's going to be lower, and I just fly forward. Like I basically fly halfway down a flight of stairs, land on the flight of stairs, do a barrel roll all the way to the end of the stairs, and then slam against the wall. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, let's start testing stuff, let's start moving things or whatever. And remarkably, I was fine.
Yeah.
I had like stings in my fingers, like where my fingernails hit, like whatever, like in like little micro lacerations and stuff like that. And I felt like I was adjusted. I felt like someone had like given me like a major adjustment or something. And then I got in the car, and then I didn't really, I miraculously was okay. I think I might have maybe chipped my elbow because I had like this pretty burning sensation whenever I'd rest my elbow at a certain angle. Mm-hmm. And now that's gone away, but I didn't go to a doctor or anything like that. But I was realizing how lucky was that, because you were talking about the manifestation of like things in your body. And I was like, what a strange thing to happen, to be like, that could have been the end of my life.
Yeah.
That could have been the end of my way of life, or, or the beginning of a new way of being in life or whatever. From that, I did have like some hip things later, but then like those are correctable. But interesting when you said that, I just remembered that. And I was like,
yeah, I mean, maybe you're holding very little underlying tension.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, that's
or you were really drunk.
I don't know what I was, but I just remember that feeling of like when you reach out for a railing,
yeah,
and it's not there.
Yeah.
It's just not there, and you're like, and then in that moment, you're like, oh, this is for real. This is going to happen. What I would not like to happen is about to happen in 1 microsecond, and then all of a sudden you're just like, here it is. And then you go through it, and I was like, man, if I could have hit my head, I could have broken my neck, I could have broken my back, my hip, or whatever. And but yeah, exactly, the underlying tension. All that to say is that the things that happen in our lives, like, I know we're going all over the place, but yeah, it's like it just reminded me of that.
And never stay in a hotel with a very, very slow elevator.
No, don't. No, or just develop patience for the elevator. Appreciate the elevator.
Yeah, have your person advance the elevator speed.
Totally.
Yeah, generally I do.
Like, what are the elevators like? Oh, they're medium rapid. Okay, that's my threshold. Medium
rapid with a good mini bar.
Yeah. Unless it's the one where you like manually pull that little accordion shut, and then that's cute. And then I like it because then I'm seeing the floors, and that's different.
Yeah, it's more bespoke. It's like an Ace Hotel experience.
Totally Ace Hotel.
I stayed in an Ace Hotel in Portland.
That's the second one that they built.
And you share a bathroom. The bathroom's actually like down the hall.
Oh, you had one of those rooms. I've never stayed in one of those rooms.
I will never stay in that room.
I don't like that idea.
No.
It's like if you were a sailor, that would work.
Yeah, and I'm not a sailor. Clearly, I'm a landlubber all the way. And I was like, put my towel on and like trotting down the. I'm like,
wet.
I'm like in high school.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
not for me.
Am I in the
first
basketball team again?
The Seattle Ace Hotel, the first Ace Hotel, because my friend Alex Calderwood started those.
Okay.
I remember staying in there. I never stayed in one of them. I heard about that. I was like, oh yeah, you got a shared bathroom, cheap rooms, way cheaper.
Cheap rooms. I actually stayed in the Ace in Surrey Hills in Sydney.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah. That one's great.
It's cool.
That's where I stayed last time.
Oh, okay.
Well, the first one I stayed at a Sofitel or something like that, because it was really close to the Opera House.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, you want to stay there, you're going to be at the Opera House a few times, so like, why don't you just stay there? And I was like, yeah. And then I did Melbourne and Brisbane, and then came back to Sydney for a comedy gala, and then I was like, I want to spend at least one night at the Ace Hotel because I love it so much, and I was there for 2 nights. Mm-hmm. I love that hotel.
It's a good hotel.
That hotel rocks.
Good vibes. You're going to Australia fairly regularly, or a couple times?
I was. When
you just got back.
I just got back. But before that, I hadn't done a proper tour there for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
So it'd been a long time. And then I did Humankind Festival 3 years before that.
I really liked it was my first time over there.
Really?
So I very much enjoyed my experience in Australia.
It's Australia. Yeah, it's
Melbourne.
So did you go to Melbourne?
I was in Melbourne for 5 or 6 days. It was
that's
amazing.
The best.
Yeah,
that's the best city.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I culturally, it's got more going on.
Yeah.
Than Sydney.
Right.
No. But Sydney is really beautiful and does have the culture is actually getting more like underground.
Yeah.
Is growing.
Yeah.
So that's good, because Sydney would be a sick city to have that come back in a full way, where it doesn't feel so tight, because it's kind of square and tight right now, like conservative, really not big on drugs in any way. Like huge crackdown on drugs. Like they're really not into it. So, but there is a little mini rave scene happening there. It is growing.
Well, I think we should let Wellington go home.
Yeah. I just wanted to keep him there.
Yeah,
that's the whole reason.
That was
I'm
really
talking.
why I just just keeping engaged. Give us a little snapshot of like what's on the frontier for Sir Righteous Honourable Reginald H. Watts, the ninth keeper of the Royal Biscuits.
Yes, quite. Well, I have a podcast that theoretically should be happening.
Exciting.
We shot one episode.
That's a good start.
With Bill Burr.
Oh.
And Bill.
Yeah.
So cold in here.
Perfect for winter release.
Yeah, winter guest. Perfect winter guest. My Reggie Watts Live from the Berghain in Berlin came out Thanksgiving, so that's still around.
A lot to be grateful for.
And then maybe curating a festival in LA. That wouldn't happen probably for like, a year or so. I'm touring a lot.
Would you consider a trip to Riyadh?
Riyadh? No, I did perform in Riyadh though.
Okay, but you're familiar
12
with
years ago.
the
Riyadh Comedy Festival?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure
100%.
it's been quite
100%.
a point of contention. Argument against is going or participating is fairly obvious that there's this repressive regime. And then the argument for is that, okay, like, there are glimmers of hope, and MBS is trying to kind of westernize and modernize the society, and he's bringing in tennis and comedy and this and that,
F1,
or F1 and whatever, Bill Burr or someone else getting up and talking about dildos on the Arabian Peninsula might be a good thing.
Ultimately, I can't judge someone for deciding to do that. All I can do is compare it to like what I would do.
Okay, what would you do?
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it just because the optics are just, on the most selfish level, the optics are terrible.
But for $1 million.
Yeah, for $1 million. Even for $1 million, it's gross. It's like a gross feeling. I'd feel so gross knowing what I know now. Again, it's not that I would never perform there or whatever. It would just have to be the right type of a situation. When I performed in Riyadh, I performed on a golf course, a privately owned golf course. So when you're on a privately owned piece of property, it's technically like the cultural police can't visit it. Is the rule. So when we were there, it was a lot of people, a lot of Saudis were there, and they were in mixed company. They were sitting next to each other, men and women. It was a mixed audience, and and there was American comedians, and then there was a Saudi Arabian comedian, a woman, which was the first time that a publicly advertised comedy show had this comedian on. She wasn't advertised as part of the lineup because that would be bad for her and her family, but she did it. I saw it, and she killed. And before she went up, the promoter turned to me and said, like, this is history in the making. I was like, whoa, it's crazy. So I'm glad I was there for that. I didn't really know much about the culture. I just went there, and I just knew that they're pretty strict about social norms and things like that.
Yeah, and apparently with this recent comedy festival, there were some fairly tight restrictions on what you could say and not say about the government, particularly.
Yes.
Otherwise, it seemed pretty loose.
A friend of mine, she was offered, and then she publicized the deal, and so that we knew what was in it. That's not even my style of comedy, so the rules didn't really affect me and my kind of comedy. I think what surprised a lot of people is that people like Bill and like Dave Chappelle, who's kind of speak truth to power, people were surprised by that. But then when I interviewed Bill about it, in a nutshell, he was just like, I took the gig because it's something to do. And it was a paycheck, but ultimately it depends on your point of view and your perspective. If you feel comfortable performing there and you're viewing it like I'm performing in front of other human beings, and me performing and doing what I'm doing I don't think Bill was thinking I'm going to loosen their ideas of how society could be. I don't think he's necessarily thinking that. I think he's a little bit more kind of pure in the sense that I'm just going to perform for some people and see what happens.
Right.
And I think that him speaking truth to power, people were worried about like that taking a hit. But after hanging with Bill, and I did a show with him last night, I think he's fine. Like no one's going to be like, oh, Bill, I'm never going to trust you again because you played in Saudi Arabia. It's like his point on that and his viewpoint on that he's pretty confident about the choice. Pete Davidson, on the other hand, being asked directly before he even went there, his father died in 9/11, and yet you're choosing to go to this place where,
essentially funded,
right? Yeah. What do you think about that? And and his thing was like, oh, I just saw the number and decided to go. That's kind of sucks. His life to do as he wishes, and that certainly is a legitimate reason, and it was very transparent. That's kind of nice, but at the same time, I'm like, well, then what are you about? Everybody else on the list, I was like, yeah, of course they would do that.
Yeah, Louis.
Yeah, Louis for sure. Louis for sure. Having worked with Louis and knowing he's a little bit of a shyster, it's like, yeah, makes sense to me that he would just be like, I'm just going to go for it. And everybody else on there, I'm like, there's nobody else that I really flagged.
It certainly has brought comedy and morality of a lot of these comics, or the ethics of these comics, into the limelight in a way that I don't really remember.
Right.
Ever, you know?
No, that
like,
I don't think that's happened.
Yeah, this is like the very first time I've heard like comedians interviewed about ethics. To the degree, anyways, it's being interviewed. Our last question.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like the rise of political correctness on the left, or what is often sort of dubbed as wokeism, or the sort of excesses of the left, if you will, did that ever cramp your style? Did you ever feel like, oh, I can't quite say what I want to say anymore?
You know, I don't really do comedy that makes fun of people. I definitely make fun of power.
Yeah,
for sure. I can't make fun of somebody. It just makes me feel really shitty if I start talking negatively about something. Other comedians can do it, and they it's very funny, but you can sense that there's also joy behind it. Well, also the whole woke thing or whatever, it's like I really hated it because I'm like, well, woke was a terminology that was, came from the African American community. It's from like the 70s or 60s or something like that. So
this meant like aware.
Yeah, that's it. But then it became this like woke is, and I'm just like, I get it. And before that it was PC, but like I get it, but it's, if someone becomes sensitive of something, if a word triggers something in somebody, then I'm either not going to use it, or like Bill Burr is excellent and he'll just bulldoze right into it. He'll go right into, he talked about Saudi Arabia on stage, actually. It was fucking awesome. It was great. I was like, oh, he disintegrated the whole topic around it. Like he has an ability of just being able to dismantle that stuff. And I think so. All that to say, it comes down to, what are you in service of? And for me, it's like, I am in service of love. Like love is the guiding principle for me. So if there's joy in someone's set when they're talking about something that is touchy, but you can feel that there's love behind it, why what they're saying, you can feel it. And then it's funny. It's funny, and it's a relief that someone is touching on that subject in a way that is enlightening the audience. It's taking away the power of that trope or that trigger.
True.
And that to me is the biggest indicator. And I think if some people can't laugh at something because it triggers them so much that they can't find the humor in it, that's totally fine. But like, you can tell the difference between someone being mean, who actually is racist, who is like taking the opportunity to get away with something on stage. You can feel that.
Yeah. And
I think that some people can con you into thinking, no, I'm just doing it, because it's like, I just want to bring it up because like people are too sensitive about it. It's like, you can tell. You can just tell.
Yeah. I mean, I think when, Chappelle went after the trans thing a little bit.
I fell for it. I was just like, Chappelle, you should do better than that online. And that was just later I was like,
well, yeah. All right, my friend. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. That was a whole Wellington of an adventure.
That was a Wellington of an episode.
Yeah, it was.
It was probably a Wellington of multiple episodes.
It probably was a Wellington of many Wellingtons.
Are you available next December around this time?
I'll be around, for our holiday edition of Wellington Now.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. For more of my weekly musings, along with ad-free episodes and live stream conversations, head over to my Substack at jeffkrasno.substack.com. I also want to let you know about our Commune course platform, which contains over 3,000 lessons and practices from the world's leading integrative medicine doctors, health experts, and yoga, fitness, and mindfulness teachers. It is a living library for holistic well-being, and you can try it for free for 14 days at onecommune.com/try Commune. And as a reminder, the audio version of my new book, Good Stress, is available on Audible, and you can listen to it for free as part of your premium Spotify membership. And if you prefer the old school analog option, you can pick up a dusty old scroll at goodstress.com and get over $900 worth of bonus courses with some of my biggest influences, including Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Zach Bush, and Dr. Gabor Mate. As always, feel free to reach out to me with comments, questions, or constructive criticism at jeffk@onecommune.com. Okay, that's all from the Commune for today. My name is Jeff Krasno, and I am here for you.